Hi everyone. Today we are back again, trying to set up more network and indicators on how to go about creating VPCs, subnets, elastic IPs, internet gateway, and the adequate subnets and route tables to get the network completely available to host an instance. Okay, so to get rolling, we'll be starting with the VPCs as we go. I'll just briefly show us our aim for today. So the aim is to set up a VPC with two subnets with the following details. A VPC name this, and with a CIDR block of 10.0.0/16. Public subnet name cloud tech underscore public. As you see, it's been named here. Okay. So the idea is to create all of the resources within the AWS environments. Let's go. So we'll be starting with the VPC. Okay, so to create a VPC, you just click on the VPC. We already have one existing VPC. That's the default one. So we're going to create a customized VPC, which is the actual way to go within the production environment. So I'll just go ahead and click on create VPC. Okay, so like we said, we will be naming this network facility as we've seen earlier. So if I say VPC, and that's a standard name we can actually follow. Okay. So with a CIDR block of /16, right? 10.0.0/16. Okay. So well, AWS has improved a lot. Now you can see you don't have to actually go ahead to name the tags. They've automatically populated the tag for us, cloud tech -VPC. So that's all we need for now. We'll just create the VPC. So if you want to view the VPC, you can just click on this and see your VPC. Earlier on, we had one, right? The default one I said. So now we have two VPCs. This is our customized VPC we just created. So the next thing while you're building the network within a cloud environment, okay, especially in the AWS environment, we want to talk about the subnets now. So we earlier mentioned we're going to be creating two public subnets and two private subnets. That will enable high availability within the network facilities we're trying to build. Okay, so the idea is to have a public IP in zone 2A, another public subnet in zone 2B, then each of the private ones as well distributed among the availability zones. Okay, so we'll just go ahead. Now we have three subnets. These subnets are the default subnet for the default VPC already existing for this region. So I'll just create our customized VPC, customized subnet, sorry. So we'll just create the subnets. Obviously, we're going to attach the subnets to the customized VPC we just created. Okay, so again, we're going to be naming this to the naming convention that we are sticking to, which we can see sub, then private. That's just we can decide to see is public. We start with public. So again, we wanted to put it in zone 2A. So we're going to be assigning a CIDR block of 0.0.1. Okay, let's just do it this way. .1.0/24, which we see here. And again, the local AWS has improved on their interface. So now we don't have to name the tag. It's already auto-populate it for us. So we just had another one. We will say, we'll just call this, because it's a continuation. We wanted to build two subnets, right? So we'll just to keep on with the naming convention. If we copy this to make life easy, so this will be the second subnet. So we can just identify this by say 2, subnet 2. So again, the availability zone for this, we wanted to place in 2B. Okay. So this will give a CIDR block of .0.2.0/24. Okay. We'll just go with the series so that there won't be any conflict. Within the network. Okay, so we want to just create the 4 subnets at a go. So we're going to be creating next 2 private subnets. Okay, so we'll just call this private. Okay. Yeah. So the first private will be allocating it to zone 2A with a CIDR block of .10.0.3, which is the next available one. I'll just click that. And again, we'll be creating the last private subnets. Okay, so we'll just call this subnet 2. So that way we can actually identify which of the subnets we're dealing with. Okay, so this we intend to place in 2B and a CIDR block of 10.0.4.0. If it's available, it's going to just show it here. So /24. Yeah, we got 4 subnets created now. I mean, so aligned. So we just go through to ensure that we actually created and we actually getting to prepare all of the subnets ready. So what we'll do next is to just click on the create, and you will see we'll be creating the 4 subnets automatically. Automatically, we're creating the 4 subnets at the go, so that makes life easier for one. Okay. So if you want to see the subnet you've created, you can see this is the summary of all that you've created. Okay. So we are able to identify them. If we open up this, we would identify all of the subnets by its naming convention. Okay. So the next step is to create an internet gateway that will enable the route table to route traffic through to the internet. So we'll just create the internet gateway. And this is for the public actually. So we had a default one that's for the region. So we just create this. Again, we want to go with the naming convention, so it's easy identification. So we'll just say internet gateway. So we'll just say this as public, because we intend to use this for the public subnets. Okay, that's about all for this, I guess. Naming. Then we'll just create the gateway. So we can actually attach it to the VPC, otherwise there won't be any communication. So you can see that's why it's flagging this up. We just click on that. Then we can attach it to our VPC, which is the Cloud Tech that VPC that we've customized. So yeah, we'll just click on attach gateway. Job done. Okay, so now we'll just go sequentially. So we'll be creating the elastic NAT gateway, which will enable routing through from the private subnets. Okay, so we'll create the NAT gateway. Again, maintain the naming convention All we needed to change was just the NAT gateway. We're good to go. So identification with the private subnet. Okay. So the naming convention helps you to navigate through. So we will just assign this to the public. One of them will do. So one of the public one will do. So we'll just assign it to public one TA. Again, there's no elastic IP. We can actually allocate one here. So if we do a drop down, there's no like elastic IP. So we'll just add one to it. And yeah, so we're good to go with that. Now we can create the NAT gateway. So create the NAT gateway. We want to see the NAT gateway we just created. Click on that. You can see the details of the NAT gateway we've created, which we actually name as this, I believe. Okay. So yeah, in summary, we've created VPC, created 4 subnets, 2 private, 2 public. So we'll be creating a route table now, so that we're able to route all the traffic through the subnets that we've created. Okay, so probably we have to wait because we see here NAT gateway takes its time to actually propagate. So it's going to take its time. But meanwhile, we'll be creating the route table for the public subnets. So if we go there, all we need to do here will just create a route table, name the route table, and so use the route table and call this a public one. Okay. So, and yeah, we just create a route table. Just create a route table. So let's go back and see if the NAT gateway is fully propagated now. So still pending. So we'll now concentrate on the route table for the public. So we'll just go and click on what we just created, which is this one. So we can actually edit the route table and add the relevant internet gateway. Okay, for hard route, open this to the wall, to the internet gateway. Let's see what we have here. Yeah. So that's it. So we can save this. Now we have a public route table good enough to route traffic through to the internet. So I guess again, one thing is missing. We need to see the sub associations. Yeah. So in subnet association, we'll be having the relevant public subnets from each of the 2 availability zone to enable routing of traffic through to the internet. So you see why it was necessary to actually name, follow a naming convention that enables you to identify which is public and which is private. So if we click on these 2, we can associate these 2. Okay. So this is just making time to make sure the NAT gateway is fully propagated. Okay, so now it's available, you see. So it was pending, but it's now available. So which means we can actually go ahead and set up our route table for the public. I mean, for the private route table now. So for the private route table, which I think we ain't created yet. So we'll just go ahead and create that. So let's just create a route table. I'll call this private. Okay. We're gonna associate the customized VPC to that. I will just go ahead and create a table. Okay, once that is done, we can edit the routes table. Out this time, we'll be adding the NAT gateway to the private route table. So obviously it's there propagated already. So we just click on that and save that. Then we can now associate the private route table to the relevant subnets. In this case, the private subnets. Okay. So here we can now carefully identify that one private, and this is the second private. So if we save that association, this half of the network configuration is done. So let's just double check and see what exactly we've done. Okay. So what we've done so far, we'll be able to create the route table, associate the two private subnets to the private route table, which will enable traffic route from the private, all the resources from the private traffic down to the internet with the help of NAT gateway. Okay, so why? For the public one, we've associated two public subnets with the help of the internet gateway. Routing is possible. Okay. So yeah, so again, there's one more thing we needed to do, just to set up the security groups. So if we set up the security group and open the relevant ports, that will enable whatever applications we're trying to set up in our servers to be able to receive traffic. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and check for the security groups. Okay, so to create security groups, you just come down here, security, click on the security group. Okay, so already I have a lot of security group ongoing. So about the purpose of this recording, I'll just take us through on how to create a security group. So we just come up here, click on security group. In this case, we still maintain the naming convention, but we want to create two security groups, one as front-end security group, another one will be a back-end security group. So for the front end, security group, that will be facing the instance in the public subnets. Okay, so as we move along, we will see that. Okay, you just go ahead and say allow traffic from public subnets. This is just a description anyway, but it helps you to navigate around when you are actually creating some of this. Okay, so we've given the description. It is picked on the right VPC. And again, we want to add the rules. Okay, so we'll be needing two basic, most important ports here, depending on what traffic and what application we're allowing and what port. So I'll be picking, first of all, we'll be adding the rules. That will allow all traffic. Okay. So let's just add, that's by default, we'll just be adding ours. So first of all, we'll be picking the SSH. SSH on port 22 will allow you SSH into that instance and configure whatever you want to configure. Okay. Without the port 22 on TCP protocol, you cannot access the instance of intent to configure, need to provision later. For description purposes, we can just say allow traffic, allow SSH access, okay? Okay, so the second rule we want to add to this will be the possible one that the application might need to gain access to the internet as well. So we will just say in this case we'll be using HTTP, TCP as a protocol and port 80. So again, we'll just open that to the words, and that'll be good enough for the front end security group that we're building. So what we've done here, we've just named it, given a description. It's automatically picked on the VPC that is needed here, and we just create a security group. Okay, so like we already mentioned, we'll be creating two security groups, one as front end and one as back end. For the back end security group, that will allow or enable access to the instance provision within the private IP. Okay, so go ahead and create this. Same way, but again, because of the naming convention, we can actually find a way to identify what we've created here. So if we just come back here, for easy access purpose, we could just do a cloud tech front end. So that's good enough. Okay, so we can see that here. So we now need the backend one. So if we create the, again, we want to name it as we've always done, backend in this case. Okay. So if we just say security group, that'll be good to go. So in this case, we say allow traffic from the private subnets. Okay, so this time we want to add a rule. Let's imagine we're considering provisioning a MySQL server within the private sector, private instance. So what we'll be considering again will be the MySQL / Aurora, which obviously you can see automatically picks the port. The port in this case is 3306. And again, we want to try to open that to I want to configure that as having access to the front end. So we should have the front end one here. Okay, so what we're saying is only traffic from the front end, since the MySQL or database is going to be private in a private subnet, we will only allow, we won't want to give this access to the public, right? You know, your database will often be in a private subnet. So only authorized people have access to it. So what we're saying here is only those who are having access to the front end or rules, can have access to the database. So in this case, we can just give the description as allow only traffic from front ends. SG, okay. So that'll be good to go. So the next thing we want to add, obviously, we still need to be able to access SSH into that instance, right? So what we need to do is add an SSH protocol. Okay, so that's port 22. So again, we want to say only front end is allowed in this case. Okay, so I think we picked on the wrong one. Front end, you can see is somewhere. Yeah, text front end. Okay, so we're good to go. We can save that now. And now we have our backend and front end readily configured. So the next thing we'll be doing, which we will leave to the next series or the next sequence of the video, will be to provision 2 servers. One will consider as an Apache server, HTTP server in the public subnet, and the second will be a database server in a private subnet. So we'll see you in the second part of this. Thank you.